Are LinkedIn company pages worth the effort and trouble? Well, we're going to talk all about LinkedIn company pages and how to build successful ones with Linaire Johnston and Michelle Raymond on today's Creators Tips, Tools, and Tales live show. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Fanny Dunnigan, and you are tuning in to the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show. Today, we have an international show because my guests are from Australia and New Zealand. How cool is that? And they're taking time out of their early mornings to join us. And like I do every week, I'm going to kick off with a content tip of the week. All of you can follow along. I have show notes that I've created to highlight the content tip of the week, as well as a place for you to jot down your notes as you listen to our guests, and then also the upcoming show that I have in July. So make sure you go to this bit.ly link. Anne and Rebecca will be putting that into the comments as well. And when you go on that link, you're going to see my notes for that. So you can jot that down, as well as my content tip of the week, as well as upcoming guests, and then also show notes. You can take show notes as you watch the show. Okay, so let's get to it and let's get to the content tip of the week. So this week's content tip of the week is all around pillar content. After all this time on LinkedIn and creating content and trying to find the best ways to be more efficient with my time and with content creation, I've discovered that for me, and I think you'll find with a lot of people, is to leverage your live streams. Everyone has access to live streams now on LinkedIn or any kind of channel that you're on. And if you don't like to do lives, if you do any kind of webinars or presentations, record it all and use that as your pillar content. So what do I mean by that? For those of you that have clicked on the show notes, here's a diagram to illustrate that. So what I mean by that is make your live streams and your webinars the core content. So you might have a 1-hour live stream or 1-hour webinar that you've done around your expertise. And from there, you can chop it up into a whole variety of different types of content. And what you can do with them is, number one, you can do podcasts. Load your live show or webinar into any of the podcast services and software. Number two, you can also chop them up into short form videos. And a 1-hour live stream can easily be chopped up into at least 5 to 10 short form videos. You can also get a transcript of your show or of your webinar and convert that to a blog or article or newsletter. You can do quote cards. Pick out a really great quote that your guest said or you said, and then quote them and make that into an image with a quote and the context of it. And then, of course, text only posts and things like that. So you'll find that live streams and webinars create huge potential for you to chop up your content into micro content. And it's a great way to repurpose your content. And one of my favorites actually is also carousels. Once you have some key points and tips, both from yourself as well as from your guests, those can become amazing carousels that can be created and repurposed. So that's my content tip of the week. Leverage your live shows as well as your webinars to be pillar content and chop it up for all kinds of repurposed content. I hope you find that useful. Okay, so now to the stars of the show. I want you all to join me in welcoming Michelle Raymond and Lanier Johnston to the show. Everyone, we're talking all about building successful company pages. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome, Lanier. How are
Kia
you
ora from New
all?
Zealand.
And g'day, mate.
I love it. Tell people what time it is in your countries.
It's just after 9 in the morning on Matariki Day here in New Zealand.
And it's 7 a.m. just gone here. So bright and early, which is when we're at our best. So yeah,
It,
excited to be here, Fanny. And even more excited that it's your first international guest. It's
it
cool.
Yes,
is.
thank
So
you.
thank you. Thank you so much for paving the way. Now we know it's possible, even when it's a tricky time. Oh, well, thank you both. I want to quickly go through and just kind of introduce both of you. One thing I'd like to do is with Linaire, let me read people your bio here so people can get to know you a little better. And for those of you out there, make sure you connect to both of them.
Mm.
Rebecca's going to add the LinkedIn links to both their LinkedIn profiles. Linaire Johnston is ranked New Zealand's leading LinkedIn expert and is the authority of linkability, 4 powerful strategies to maximize your LinkedIn success. The writer of compelling LinkedIn profiles for clients worldwide, she works with individuals and teams to help them unleash the power of LinkedIn in their marketing and runs the Linkability members site for those serious about LinkedIn. And the bio that I got from Michelle is very simple. She's merely the LinkedIn company page queen. There you go. That's it. Her
Designated by
bio.
Lanier for the record, not
Yes.
by me.
And we've come up with a new term from Linaire. She's the godmother of LinkedIn company.
The grey hair, yeah.
I love it. So I want both each of you, Ashley, to just maybe tell the audience here that may not know you, even though you guys are obviously a lot on LinkedIn, just a quick, background. How did you get to loving LinkedIn and growing your content journey and becoming an expert in this field? Linaire, if you want to go first.
Sure. Well, my background is journalism, radio and broadcasting, and magazine publishing. And so when LinkedIn became, set up a publishing platform that we could all use and post content and made it a level playing field so that everybody could be getting organic reach, I was just hooked. I mean, I'd been on LinkedIn like a lot of people, had my CV there and really just ignored it. And then when I realized that you could post content and reach a huge audience worldwide, that was it for me. I was just hooked. I fell in love with LinkedIn and I've been in love with it ever since. And as my interest in it has grown and my knowledge has grown, so has my reach. And so now I'm connected with and work with people all over the world. And I just love the fact that LinkedIn makes it possible for us to do things like we are doing today, Fanny and Michelle, be on an international show all around the
Wow.
world with people watching from everywhere. And that is the power of LinkedIn.
No kidding. Look at us, like international indeed. What about you, Michelle?
Well, this one's a shout out to anyone in the audience that's come from a sales background like I have. So, working 20 plus years in sales, turned up at a new job that I just got through LinkedIn, and they said, "Off you go, Michelle, go and sell." And I said, "What do we sell? Is it on the website?" And they said, "No." I said, "Okay. Is it in a catalog?" And they said, "No." I said, "Well, how do people know what we do?" And they went, "That's your job, Michelle." And I did the maths. 10,000 products, 80 customers spread all around Australia. It just was never going to add up. So I began my journey. This was in the beauty space. So I used to sell all the ingredients for skincare and hair care. And I began a journey to build a community and, reach more of my clients and potential clients. And so that's where I learned how to, the power of content, the power of community. And as time went on, it started off locally and then just went worldwide. So fast forward a couple of years after that, well, 7 years in total, And I end up, having the pleasure of teaching other people how to use LinkedIn and, basically repeat what I've been able to do. So I'm with Lynette. I have been in love with it since I started. The more I learn, the more I love. And my favorite moments are when I get to, have those light bulb moments with clients where they fall in love with it as well. So yeah, it's super cool.
I love it. I love it. And today we're here to talk about both your books, your co authors of this Business Gold. Ah, I love it. Rebecca, take a picture. This book, everyone, if you are at all interested in building your LinkedIn company page, you all must get this book. And that's the topic of today, because I think there's so many kind of like misconceptions and mistakes around LinkedIn company pages. And even I myself, like I feel like there's still so much to learn and like kind of hidden almost about what's possible with LinkedIn company pages. But before we get to that, I want to know, how did you two, one in Australia, one in New Zealand, get together to write a book together? Tell us about that journey.
Well, this is our favourite story, and I tell the first bit, and Michelle tells the second. So I just recently finished writing my first book, Linkability, and was casting around for an idea for a second one. And I decided that there was no one had written about company pages, and I had an interest in that, and I thought that there was some real mileage in writing about it. And then I just happened to come across Michelle in a podcast talking about company pages, and I realised that she's just across the way, because New Zealand and Australia are really close together. So I asked if she'd like, we didn't know each other, never met each other or knew anything about each other. And so I just asked if she'd like to have a Zoom and have a catch up and have a meet. And we got on really well. And so I asked her whether she'd like to write a book together.
I know, and it was the craziest thing, because here's how it worked from my side, is that I wrote a comment about company pages on somebody who's in Vienna, right? So I'm in Australia, he was in Vienna. The podcast host was in Dubai. He then saw that comment. I went on the podcast in Dubai, which then Lynette in New Zealand listened to and then reached out, and I'm here in Sydney. So if you want to know the power of comments and never knowing where it will end up, this is the example for that. So it was one of those things. This is what happened when Lynette asked me, because I just jumped on for a intro call, and she says, "Would you like to write a book together?" And I'm like,
just like that.
play it cool, Michelle. Play it cool. Like, yeah, I'd love to. Never written a book before, but I know a lot about company pages. So my favorite part about this book is that the collaboration between the two of us actually brought the best out of both of our skills. So I was able to complement Lynette's, skills with all of her experience in writing a book. And, I brought my technical knowledge of company pages. And I'm really proud of the book that we put together, because I think it's better that we did it together. I think it's a better product for the people that we wanted to reach around the world. And to say I'm proud of it is an understatement. It's an Amazon international bestseller. And it's just really helped so many people get started, Fanny. Like, because that was the problem. Nobody was getting started on company pages, because I don't think people knew what to do.
Yes. And so everyone out there, and I can see everybody, I love this, everyone's sharing their LinkedIn company pages.
Oh,
so
cool.
Make sure you all drop your LinkedIn company pages, give each other a follow. Let's support each other and our companies. And then Rebecca or Anne, they're going to post again the Amazon link, so you all can get a copy of that book. There it is. It's a long URL, but you'll find it. It's called Business Gold. Business Gold. Okay. How long did it take to write the book?
6 months, 8 months. We started, we met in May. We met in May, and we had it published on Michelle's birthday on the 18th of November last year.
And I got to tell you, so we met every Friday. We also had businesses to run and grow and do within that time. And so for us, it was just this thing that it was such a commitment from both of us, because it was so important to both of us that we wanted to help more businesses. So yeah, about 6 to 8 months, learnt so much.
I guess it also helps like push each other, right?
Accountability, Fanny. Yes. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
I
exactly.
love it.
Keep each other going on it.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about these misconceptions that a lot of people have about LinkedIn company pages. Because I even admit that, like, especially for my own, because I'm a solopreneur and, small business owner. So in my mind, I'm just going to build my LinkedIn page, my personal page, right? But there's a LinkedIn company page, and then also the clients that I serve, they have big LinkedIn company pages, but nobody's really kind of like, I feel like, utilizing it properly. What are some of the misconceptions that you both have heard around LinkedIn company pages? Michelle, you want to start us off?
I think the number one thing is that they don't work, because what the number one mistake that people make is trying to compare your company page with your personal profile. So at the very top of this, let's get it out there. You do not get the same reach. So if you can park that for the next, 45 minutes or half an hour that we're together, park that and think, how else can I use my page? And I'm a big believer you get out of it what you put into it. So for me personally, they just work differently. And so when you go in with an open mind, you can start to see how you can use your company page to amplify your personal brand. And that's what I love particularly. Linnea, how about you?
Yes, I think that the people don't realize that there is a lot of connection between a company page and a profile. There are a number of different ways that you can link the two. And I think that, as you say, Michelle, it extends your reach. It gives you another form of content that you can put out there. And you can do so much more now with pages as they start to improve the different features. We've now got newsletters, LinkedIn Lives, all kinds of wonderful things. And I think if people were able to see the virtue of using all the different ways of their company page to link it to their profile, to be able to extend their reach a different audience even, and to build their community through their pages, they'd be much more enthused. So let's hope by the end of this morning, today, they'll be more enthused and really want to get on board with company pages.
Absolutely. We'll dispel all those myths. And then what about mistakes that you're seeing? So, like, Michelle, what are some of the top mistakes that you've seen people make around LinkedIn company pages?
Well, the number one mistake is most people, when they set up their company page, do it as I just want the gray boxes gone off my work experience on my profile. And so they put zero effort into it and they hardly fill out all of the fields. And, the page just kind of exists to get a logo and that's it. And we know that if you actually set up your company page 100% correctly, so you pay attention and do it properly, on average, LinkedIn tells us you get 30% more weekly views. So to me, if you set up a page years ago and weren't really into it, today your homework is to go back, check the setup and fill in the blanks and really put some love into it, as I'll say more and more times, so that, 100% setup equals 30% more views. That's a win for me.
That's math right there. What about you, Linaire? What mistakes have you seen done on LinkedIn company pages?
People setting up a page, Fanny, but not inviting people to follow it and not building a community. And that was a little harder earlier on because we only had 100 invites per month to invite connections to follow our page. But now it's been increased to 250, which means that you've got no excuse for not building your page really fast. So the main mistake that I think people need to make sure that they don't do is to not invite people to follow their company page. Send out all of those 250 invites per month, and any credits that you get back, make sure you invite more people. You want to get to the end of the month and have absolutely no credits left.
I love that. And I want to drill more into that. But before we get to that, we have a question from David Cause. Welcome, David. Major difference. What is the difference? Like, especially if, let's say, we're an entrepreneur or small business owner, so it's a smaller kind of company, right? Company page versus personal page. What are some of the major differences there?
The
Lanier?
audience, I would say, would be a major one because generally we have larger networks for our profiles than we do on our pages. And so we might be connected to people who are not necessarily interested in the company page or the company itself, but are interested in who we are and what we do and building trust. So that allows us to extend our network outwards. But with a page, I think the audience is a little different, and I think what they want is a little different. So therefore, your content needs to be a little different. So an example of that would be that today I've just posted on my personal profile a piece about it being Matariki here in New Zealand. It's Maori New Year this weekend, and so I've posted a semi-personal post around that on my profile. Now that wouldn't be appropriate for my company page, where I share more about information about the company and about LinkedIn. So I think the audience is one of the big things that's the difference between profiles and company pages.
Got it. And then, Michelle, we have a question here also about from Shannon that says, how do I use the company page? I have two businesses. So in this era of side hustles and multiple ideas and businesses, is that possible to have more than one company page?
It sure is funny. I think I'm up to about 5 at the moment. It's gotten a little out of control. So we have a company page that we set up for Business Gold because Linaire and I both needed access to it. And so one of the main differences between a company page and a personal profile is you can actually assign third parties as page administrators. So being that we were both from our own different companies, it's a place where we could centralize everything and both have equal access. So that's one of the major fundamental differences between a profile and a company page is how they get managed, and the tools that we get to manage that process are a little different to personal profiles. So I've also for podcasts I've set them up, for books we've set them up, so there's lots of different ways. So the really good thing is if you have a side hustle, here's what happens. You might be working full time and running your content that's related to your current job, but maybe secretly or not so secretly you're building this other business on the side with a dream one day that it goes full time. You can set up the company page and run content through that and build that while you're working, and then there's not those mixed messages, because there's nothing worse that when you jump onto Netflix and you want to watch a drama and it's showing you a horror movie. Like, it's weird. So when you come onto somebody's personal profile and they're posting about something random, it's like, am I on the right channel here? So it gives you a way that you can separate your content. And I think that's one of the things. And it doesn't matter if you've got one person in your business, doesn't matter if you've got 10,000. Why I love company pages is you get the same banner size, the same number of characters in your headline, same content available for free. Like, can we just go back it? It's for free. It's a level playing field. So take advantage of that.
I want to show people exactly, like, you did this with, both of you guys did this with your book even, right? You made your book into a company page. And then I love that you guys post with like different people that have bought your books, and it's like, and there's mine from like my vacation. I brought it on vacation, and it's
Yeah.
just like all over the world. Tell us about what the idea behind like leveraging a company page for a book too.
Oh,
Look, and
Michelle, you must
again,
answer this one because this is really your brainchild and you've done such a fabulous job with it.
Look, there's a couple of things. Is that number one, as I said, I wanted to set up what I call our trophy room. So as you can see, it's a collection of all our favorite things. So that's Brenda Meller. If anyone wonders whose legs those are, in Detroit, we had G, who I know is in the audience. Her photo was up the top near yours, Fanny. But we've had so many people from around the world. And, this is what Linaire and I wanted to do. Give access to company pages to people globally. So the
It's
company
almost
page
like a
is a
fan
way.
page.
It sure is. And it's for me, it reminds me of why we did it. And, when we get photos, it's social proof. Hey, we respect Fanny. She's amazing. And look, she took our book on holidays to Cancun. No, really, she did. And it was right next to the photo of a book from Chris Do. Like, that is like surreal,
Yeah, and
mind
he
blowing.
replied too.
It's just like, fangirl moments. So from that perspective, it's a place that we can then tag that company page. So if someone is having a question about company pages, I can jump in there and say, look, wrote this book called and I tag it at Business Gold, and it shows up, and then people can find information easy. But ultimately, social proof for the book.
It really is. And then again, like that international flavor and people taking it on different locations. It must be so satisfying, right? Seeing that.
So it's been to, just in the last couple of weeks, it's been Mexico, it's been London, it has been Texas, it has been like Detroit, like we said, it is Scotland. I'm trying to think where else it's been, but that's just in like the
I've
last
seen someone with
week.
it from South America this last week. I think it was
There you
Peru.
go.
Wow.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
Speaking of G, I see her question in the comment, and you alluded to this as well, Linaire. Once you set up your page, how do we engage our connections and direct them to our company page and stand out without seeming spammy?
Okay, so I think there are a number of different ways that you can do that, because there are a number of different features that LinkedIn provides that helps us to do that. So one of the ways that I like to do that is through newsletters. Now, newsletters arrive well, for company pages anyway, just earlier on in the year, and they're a great way to build a community because people subscribe to them. They get notifications when you put out an issue. You can include all kinds of information in them. Michelle likes to write a long article. I tend to use smaller pieces and allude back to my posts that have done really well. And it's a great way to be able to showcase the kind of things that you do personally and with your company. So you can combine the two together through a newsletter. And I love the fact, two things about newsletters. One is that they have their own URL, so you can direct people to a page where all your newsletter editions sit there, one after the other. And the second thing is, and this has only just happened recently, is that newsletters are now shown or displayed on your company page. And so when somebody goes to your homepage company page, they will see that your newsletter has a link to it there and that they can go and subscribe. Now, generally people are finding they're getting a great response to newsletters and people are subscribing. I think that I saw the other day 28 million people have been subscribing to newsletters from company pages. Now, that's a huge number given that they've only been around, since March, would it be, Michelle, or was it a bit later than that?
yeah, so I was part of the alpha testing. So that was January. So we did like probably 2 months of testing in the background to make sure that there was no bugs. And then it slowly rolled out. And like LinkedIn are just making them better and better. And I know the Pages team have definitely been listening to feedback on what else we want to do with these. So we saw just in the last couple of weeks that we've now got the feature where you can use hashtags in your newsletters and also tag individuals. Now, that is a game changer for reach and searchability on the platform, and it just shows the importance of long form. So to answer, one more thing to G as well is that I think there's historically the type of content that was on LinkedIn company pages made your skin crawl a little. It was that broadcast, look at us, it's all about us, the company, the company, company. The main thing that I think Linaire and I want to get across is that it's a real gray area between content on company pages and content on profiles. Similar styles these days work really well. So it's, no one wants to hear all about you. It doesn't work anywhere on LinkedIn, and it certainly doesn't work on the company pages.
Here's a technical question, Michelle. I know you like those technical questions. Dolores asked, do you have to have a personal profile to have a company page?
You sure do. Simple answer is someone has to be the page administrator for the page, and you can't be one without a LinkedIn profile to set it up. You can assign the LinkedIn page management to people off the platform. Whether they need a profile, I need to double check, but I'm going to say yes, you do need one.
Awesome.
You'd certainly want to have one. I mean, there'd be no reason why you wouldn't be wanting to do that, because it's, this is about a community and people want to meet the people. They want to know who's involved in a company. And so to be able to show people a profile or a person behind the company, I think is really important. Otherwise, they're just faceless entities. And we don't do business with businesses generally. We like to do business with people.
Absolutely. So I want to follow because I love the chapters that you put into this book. So for those of you that don't have this book yet, this book was divided into three sections, right? One was building awareness, building authority, and then building advantage. Okay, tell us a little bit about why and how you separated it into these three sections and why, Linaire.
It's funny, really, when you're starting to work on a book, Fanny, about how the whole thing comes together, because you might start out with one thing in mind, and then as you work through it, the process of it, you realize actually people want to know more information about some things than others. And so what we realized very early on in the piece, that a part of the book, well, the purpose of the book was to encourage people to look at company pages, to want to try them out, to set them up, and to make them work for themselves. And it was that first awareness about company pages that was really important, because nobody's going to do anything more with a company page if they don't know about it and they don't know the power of it and what it can do. So it kind of the kind of sections became, they kind of wrote themselves in that sense, because when you're looking at any kind of a major project like this, you've got to build awareness first, and then you want to move on to the different things. You want to establish the fact that you know what you're talking about, and the queen of company pages, Michelle J. Raymond, is an authority, right? And then you want to show people the results. What are they going to get? Why should they put all their time and effort into this? And what's going to come out the other end? So as I say, it kind of wrote itself in a way.
So building awareness, okay, Michelle, tell us a little bit. You also have these things called golden nuggets, which are like just drops of amazing tips and tactics. Tell us a golden nugget around building awareness.
Look, ultimately, why do we want a company page? Like, what is the point of this thing? It's so that you can have credibility for your business. If your business is invisible online, then you've got zero chance. And, I read something yesterday from Neil Patel. I got one of his newsletters, and it said, are you letting your competitors grow unimpeded? So you can sit back and say they're a waste of time, but what are you going to do in an industry where your competitors have decided that they don't think it's a waste of time? Are you going to let them just run like crazy on the platform and really own your industry and build a B2B community? So from that perspective, what I like to think of is, if in your personal life you have ever used Google reviews, TripAdvisor, Yelp to make a decision about where you want to do business, this is exactly why you need a company page. Because when people jump onto Google and they Google your business name potentially, you are going to show up on that first page of search results. That at a bare minimum is the reason that you need the page. But don't think just because you don't think company pages are worth your time that people doing their research or stalking, whichever word is more appropriate, they will come and like your personal profile, like your content. But when it comes to handing over money, Fanning, it's that digital trust and making sure that the company checks out just as much as the person. When it comes to money time, we want to make sure that we're, not going to lose money. And so from that perspective, in an online world, just like the three of us are here from every corner of the globe, it just is a way that you can add more credibility to your business, no matter the size. And I think there's more advantage. The smaller your business, the more that you can actually look like you're 10 times bigger. So it, again, just adds more credibility.
There's a golden nugget right there.
Yeah, it's why I did it. So you have a think.
Yes.
Yeah, you think, okay, so Amazon is the biggest page on LinkedIn, has about 25 million followers on a company page. That's almost the same population as Australia. Like, it is just mind blowing. But I have two people in my business. I get all the same features and functions for free. Did I say that before? For free.
Free 99.
So it doesn't matter if I'm the biggest company in the world or if I'm sitting and I've just got a solopreneur in a business, you get the same features. Like, how amazing is that?
Yes. Now, Lanier, have you seen a company page? What is an example of a company page that is building awareness really well? What would
I
be an
think
example?
Netflix is a really good example of this, Fanny. And if you look at their page, they don't use it just to tell us about new shows that are coming out, although they do that. But they also use it to create awareness around issues, diversity and inclusion, for example. And they've also used it to be able to build a community of their own team, their own staff. And I think that that's an amazing thing to be able to create using something as simple as a LinkedIn company page, is to build camaraderie with their team, build loyalty towards the company, and generally to be able to use the features in a way that gives, in a positive sense. It's not just sharing information, as Michelle says. It's not all about the company. It's not all about me, and the shows. It's really much wider than that. And I think Netflix is a great example of a company that's using LinkedIn company page as well.
Yeah, and I see that they like highlight their various employees as well by
Yeah.
sharing their posts, giving them
Yeah, and
shout
doesn't that
outs.
really engender loyalty with your team members, with your staff, to know
Yeah.
that the company that you work for thinks highly enough of you to share your material, to share your content? I mean, that's really, I think, such a positive way to engage and have your team members engage with the company.
It's a form of employee engagement.
It is a form of employee engagement in the wider sense.
Yeah.
And also, of course, it shows that then that the company's a great place to work for, because the company supports the team members. And I like that too. And therefore, they're going to encourage more high quality team members to join when they have roles available. So it's a win-win-win. And I think a lot of companies aren't recognizing the value of pages just for this side, for the
Mhm.
employee engagement. And
Yes.
that's a big area that I'd like to see changed, I think, over the next sort of 12 to 18 months or so, that recognition of how important it is for that.
Now, Michelle, we got a question from Patty. If you have more than one skill under the umbrella of your business, what is the best way to convey both?
I just think through content, rotating your content that covers off both is the easiest way. We have access to things like showcase pages, product pages, company pages. You can set up multiple. And people often come to me and say, how should I do this? Keep it really simple to begin with. Manage it by rotating your content, and that will work sufficely on your company page. When people start to dilute their message and spread it out too far, it gets complicated. It becomes a burden for you personally to try and manage it all, and then you'll give up. So, all about keeping life simple. So, just handle it with your content.
I love that rotation. And then to your point, I do want to reinforce that point that it's not just the company page, there's showcase pages and product pages. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, for sure. So with company pages, and this is why LinkedIn calls it LinkedIn pages. So we've got lots of different options. So the main umbrella page is your company page. And from there, everything else, branches off that. So a showcase page works for companies that are a reasonable size. So if you don't have at least 50 employees, I don't want you to worry so much about it. A showcase page is a way that you can actually distinguish brands or locations. So for multinational companies, you might have the umbrella company page, and then you might have branches that come off that as showcase pages globally. So you might have a US page and then an Australian and a New Zealand page, for instance. Product pages historically were for digital products only, so software as a service type vendors. Now they've rolled out to more types of businesses now and other industries. And I just noticed this just in the last couple of days that they've actually put a disclaimer. It's not suitable for services. So even though you have access to it like I do, when you try and put services into these product pages, it doesn't fit. So wait till they evolve. I love product pages. Product pages really look like the service pages that you have on your personal profile, very similar. They have a great layout with like featured sections and recommendations, and you can say who uses your product, which is great. But I don't think they're right for everybody. So I would sit back on those just for a little bit while LinkedIn kind of iron out a few of the,
Yeah.
lumps and bumps. But ultimately, most people, a company page is more than enough. Keep it simple, do it well, and then you can worry about all these other kinds of pages. If you're a multinational, huge company with a huge team that can manage it all, different conversation,
Different
different
countries.
strategy. Yeah. But even, I would say what happens is sometimes people try and overcomplicate it. And that happens anywhere on LinkedIn. Just because we get a feature doesn't mean you should jump into it. You should actually, step back, have a look at the strategy. How does it align with your business goals? Then we go forward and see whether it's the right thing. But yeah, they're the 3 different pages.
Wow. And see, you don't get that on a personal page. Linaire, this is a great question. Speaking of connections, let's go back to that, right? Dolores asks, when you invite people to like your page, if they decline, is there any negative impacts to your business page? That's a great question, Dolores.
Sure. Now, I don't think Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I don't think so because it doesn't show up anywhere that the person has declined. And when you invite someone, you don't know whether they're going to be interested in your page. And it's the same with newsletters. If you invite someone to follow or subscribe your newsletter, you don't know whether it's really going to solve their problems or not. And you can't be all things to all people. So you want a network of people who are really engaged. And I would much rather have fewer followers of my page, but people who were really interested in what I had to say, rather than a huge following of people who never saw my content because they never engaged on it or never reacted to it. So no, I don't see that there are any negative consequences, but I do think it's wise to be careful about who you do invite, because don't forget you do have 250 invites now, but it's really easy to get through them all if you just go connect, when you really want people who are going to be involved and show interest in what you're doing, because ultimately you'd like to either have them as clients or certainly potentially refer you to other people as someone who's trustworthy and a good person to do business with. So no, my advice really is just to be careful who you invite in the first place.
Yeah. And that the content's relevant to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Michelle, let's talk about the second section of the book, building authority. Give us a golden nugget around building authority.
Look, building authority is getting those basics right. It's no different to over in your profile. We want to make sure if someone visits your page that they get the best version represented of your company possible. So again, if you treat it like it's this second-class cousin that you don't really put effort into it, that creates a brand impression for people that go doing their searches, whether you like it or not. The absence of your effort is noticed, and that will impact back on your personal brand. So what I would say is, again, go back, have a look at as simple as the about section. When you set it up, did you just type a few lines and left it there and ignored it? Is that really what your business does? Who does it impact? How do you help? What's the transformation? If you can go back and put some love into that side of things, you are really going to start to see more inquiries come through. And, we don't get the engagement that we do on personal profiles. But my number one thing that I would share with the audience today is don't think people aren't watching just because they aren't liking and commenting, because I'm sure Linaire has them as well. And I have so many examples where people reach out and they say, "Oh, I really love your content." I was like, where have you
Never
been?
commented.
Can you just press a button? So if you want to support a business, if you see a post, they don't show up in the feed as much as personal posts. If you see a post and your friend owns a business, support them by pressing the like button at a bare minimum. Help them get that message across. Help them grow their business. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't cost anything, but it can really help them, build their credibility. By your endorsement, it actually builds their credibility and authority in their space. And I think it's just something that I think we could all be a little kinder. If you own the page, it's your job to make sure the content's worth someone else clicking on.
Absolutely. Now, I want to read something from page 61 of your book. I found this very, very interesting as a techie, geeky numbers person, okay? You have here a page following between 500 and 1,000 is where the magic begins. Who wants to take that? What does that mean? A page following of between 500 and 1,000 followers is where the magic begins. Tell me more about that.
Okay,
You want
so I think that it's the same on your page as it is on your profile, Fanny. If you have a very small network of people who are connected to you, you're not going to have much organic reach. It's that ripple out effect. People know people know people. And so anytime on your personal profile, when you connect to somebody, you then bring into your network, into your orbit, if you like, their connections. So that means their second degree connections to you. And so the more people you connect with, the wider your network becomes, the more people who are going to see your content. Well, it's the same with company pages. And there's that kind of tipping point, which is, I think, 500 followers. That means that people will start to see your content because other people will comment and engage on your content once you get to 1,000. Now, Michelle and I both have around 2,000 members or followers on our company pages. And that is where I think things are starting to really take off, because your content starts to show up in news feeds. You start to get people who are engaging on it, seeing it, and even people who are lurkers, people who don't necessarily might comment on it, but they still see it. So it's really important to grow those networks of followers so that more people will see it. You have more chance to reach a wider audience, and you put effort into your content. You know, it's not easy just to be putting posts up every day, every 2 days, whatever it might be, and at least twice a week. You have to put effort into it, particularly as a professional post on your company page. You have a reputation to maintain. So you want to get it out to as wider audience as possible. And critical or key to that is having a good follower base. And I'm sure Michelle would agree, but have more to say on that.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add on top of that. And again, ditto from me for everything that Linaire just shared. Originally, when we wrote the book, we only had 100 invite credits. So the acceptance rate on your invite credits every month out of that should have been between 40 to 80, depending how active you are on the platform. So it would take roughly 6 to 9 months for a page to grow, which is a really slow process in a fast-paced world. So now that LinkedIn is actually giving us 250 page invite credits every month, you should actually be able to achieve that faster. But during that period of time, you're going to learn what type of content that actually resonates with your community. So it takes some time to work into what are they looking for, what resonates, what formats, what styles, what tone are you getting most engagement from. And so for people out there that are using paid strategies, so everything I teach is all about organic, but if you want to reduce the cost of your paid strategies, get good at organic content, take the time to learn about your community, and then go put money behind it. Because too often we see people try and skip, pass go, collect $200 without doing the work, and it doesn't work. LinkedIn themselves, I had them on my live, just about a month back, and they said quite often when clients come to them and say, look, my ads aren't working, there's a problem. And when they go back and look, they say, go back, start creating organic, work out what works, then come and bring your money and start again and put money behind it, because you know who your niche is, what type of content resonates, and then it makes sense. And, paid strategies are the reason mostly that pages are different to profiles. So ultimately, that's the fundamental difference between the two, is one, you can pay to get a bigger audience, and you can't do that on your profile.
Okay, so hashtag goals, okay, guys, in the audience, at least 500 and then 2,000. And then that's when the real magic happens. And if we get 250 credits every month, there's no excuses for being able to build that, right, in the span of a few months. Okay, great, goals. So now let's go to building advantage. Linaire, tell us a golden nugget around building advantage.
All right. For me, having a company page is all about extending my brand. and for people to get to know it, to be able to become familiar with it, and then to be able to see me personally as an expert in my field and the company as an authority in the area as well. Now, Michelle's a really good example of this because she has built a reputation as an authority on company pages, and it's an excellent example to share because she has used her company page and her personal profile together, along with our book, of course, to be able to build that authority. Now, maybe 18 months ago, not many people had heard about Michelle. Now, not many people have not heard about Michelle, right?
You're in my feed
And so
all the
she
time,
has used,
Michelle.
she's used her company page and some other skills to be able to become an acknowledged authority in this particular area. Now, I love Michelle very much indeed. I think she's an amazing person. I've never met her, but she's a wonderful person. But she has worked really hard on being able to develop this. But my point about this is that if she can do it, why can't we all? And the answer to that is, well, we can. And if we treat our company page in a way that helps us build that authority by sharing useful content on a regular basis that people want to know about and that solves their problems, then we will build authority in our particular niche, whatever that might happen to be. And so whether you are a solopreneur, a coach, a consultant, or a freelancer, or the owner of a small business, because as Michelle says, it's a level playing field and you can get great organic reach, then using a company page to catapult yourself or your business into the stratosphere is a great way to be able to build that and to use all the different features while keeping it simple, as Michelle says, using the features, newsletters, content, articles, videos, lives, using all of those and other features that LinkedIn makes possible on company pages now really allows you to build authority over a period of time. But I do want to stress this one thing, Fanny, and that is it takes time. You can't be an international sensation overnight. You have to show up.
You can't be
day
company
after
page
day,
queen
week after
overnight.
week, month after month, in as many places as possible, like international podcasts, to be able to build that authority. But if you work at it consistently, it will come.
Yeah. I just want to like you said, this is an example. I want to show real life examples of this building advantage. And as I scroll through your company page, Michelle, I mean, you have everything from newsletters to live streams to quotes to features. Like, walk us through how you did this. Just like maybe two nuggets here of your
Yeah, for
company
sure.
page.
So what you can see when you rotate through that is I use all different types of content. So they appeal to different audiences. And that post there, if people go and look for it, it's actually in my featured section as well on my personal profile. That's my 3-2-1 content strategy. So if you want to know how do you do content on a company page, you need to go and find that post. It's on my featured section. I'm all about finding the synergy between my profile and my page and then having the content that works across both. So I quite often tag my company page when I do a personal post, and I use my company page to tag me personally. So what happens is quite often people will say to me, Michelle, I feel like you're everywhere. And so that's the
She is.
advantage. That's the advantage for a solopreneur at the time when I started. Now, I want to tell people, rewind when I first started. So my business is 2 years old. It was a change in career. My personal community on LinkedIn that I'd built for the 6 years before that was all around the beauty space and selling chemicals and raw materials and, completely nothing to do with company pages. So I went through a period where I wanted to give up because I had a community that wanted to know about beauty, and I had a message that I wanted to share about company pages. Now, there's not much overlap in those two things, I can assure you. So it went dead silent for about 6 months. I got to April last year and I said to, Michelle Griffin, I said to her, Michelle, I don't know about this company page thing. Everybody hates them. Nobody really likes them. I think I'll go eat worms or something. I think that's how the song goes. And I wanted to give up, but in my gut, I knew that company pages for businesses were really going to be a big thing. And fast forward, it's easy now to have these conversations. People are interested. But when
Yeah.
Linaire reached out back in May last year, just the month before I was going to give up. And it was only that she reached out. And, as I say to her, forever grateful for the opportunity to write with her. But we've changed the conversation. And I know it's not just us, but I'm going to take
Yeah.
like a fair chunk of
No,
credit
Yeah.
that we
for
changed the
sure. You
conversation
really have.
around company pages because people
Absolutely.
didn't know what to do with them, and the features and functions that we had pre-COVID, they weren't great. Like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to lie, but if you haven't used your page in the last 12 months, we have to go back and rewrite chapters in Business Goal because even since November, there are so many that are not in there that we need
Yeah.
to add. Landing pages have come in, commenting as your company page. There's all kinds of cool things that we can do now. Newsletters, things that we predicted actually have come true. Why is that happening? Because LinkedIn are cashed up from ad spend. So you need a company page to run ads. It makes sense for them to make company pages attractive. So I follow the money, and you
Absolutely.
should too.
Follow the money. Last question from the audience. Christine asks, in companies, are these pages usually maintained by marketing or HR departments? What have you seen in your experience?
Oh, Lynette, I want to jump on this one because I think this is such a great question, because one of the things that we raised in Business Gold was that company pages often have different masters.
Yeah.
So you've got the
Because we
HR
sell
team.
and then we
Yep.
also hire, right? There's the
Exactly.
two
And then the
parts.
marketing team want to generate leads. The sales team, want to get involved with social selling. And so what you've got is, historically, it was probably the HR team. It's going to come down to what the business goals are. So if you're having a talent crisis and want to attract top talent, then your goals for your page are going to be different than if it's actually, you're looking to generate leads from marketing perspective. So the more people in the business that you can get involved in the content strategy that aligns to the business goals, not just posting for the sake of posting. That's probably the biggest mistake that we see. When it aligns to what your business goals are, then, and that example that Linaire used before, Netflix used their page to attract top talent. It's really obvious when you go back and have a look at their content. So, decide the goals and work. The more people in the company that you can get involved, the better the results.
And hence we're able to have multiple admins as well, right? You can assign different administrators. Okay, I can easily talk to you guys for another hour, and there's still so many questions flying in. All of you that I missed the questions, you're going to have to connect with Linaire and Michelle. Follow them, follow their company pages, follow their book page. And Rebecca and Anne are going to post those again in the comments. So make sure all of you in the audience, follow Linaire and Michelle. Definitely. I do want to celebrate a little bit the fact that we are in this international show. Both of you, Aussies versus Kiwis. From what I understand, there's a little bit of rivalry. There's a little bit of competition between the countries. So I thought I kind of ask you guys some questions, some fun questions. And this segment, I'm going to Aussies versus Kiwis.
Okay.
Are you ready? Help,
Ready.
Okay.
help educate us. Help educate me in the US. Okay. So here's some questions and research that Rebecca found for us. Now, what would you say, is New Zealand or Australia a more dangerous place to live? And what?
Australia. They have things that kill you in Australia. We have nothing that kills us. In terms of wildlife in New Zealand, Australia is definitely more dangerous. Don't go there if you want to live.
That's what we found. According to Google, which is obviously the expert, New Zealand has no dangerous animals, it said. Is that true?
It is
Yes.
the truth. Apparently,
Yeah.
we do have lots of dangerous animals here, but my pet kangaroo takes care of that.
She's joking. She doesn't have a pet kangaroo.
It's a koala.
I have an image here, and from what I understand, they're called different things in Australia versus New Zealand. So here's the picture.
That's thongs in my world, which is
Okay,
gonna
we
not
call them
translate.
jandals. We call them jandals in New Zealand.
And we call
And I
them
can-
flip-flops here in the
Yeah.
US.
And I can see Fanny going, "You call them thongs? That's not what we
Yes.
call them in the US.
And
Thongs
what
are
do you
something
what do you
different.
call G-strings then?
G-strings
won't-
are G-strings and thongs are thongs. Like,
We won't
do
we
not
won't
get
go
them
into
mixed
the
up.
X-rated version of the show. Okay. Next. What do you call a cooler
An
in your
esky. An
A chili
esky.
bin.
Oh, that's silly.
Yes.
And
Even
we don't
Stephen
want Russell
Colbert
Crowe.
got confused on
idea.
that one recently.
Where did I can kind of understand chili bin, but where
Can
does
I tell you-
esky come
So
from?
esky is a brand. So this is where the brand became so strong that it took over what the product is. So now everyone in the industry calls it esky regardless of whether it's that brand or not. So that's the power of company brand right there, product branding.
Got it. Okay, last one. How do you say hello in your respective countries?
Kia ora.
G'day.
Yeah.
Can you say
And
g'day,
it's
please?
hello.
And let's
What's the
just
meaning
settle.
of Kiora? Like where does
Kia
that
ora
come
is a Maori greeting, and Maori are our indigenous peoples, and so that's a really good way of being able just to say hello to people. So we often use it, just kia ora.
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to do a last question. And in the meantime, Anne is going to tell me the winner of the question, the best question that she saw in the comments. And I believe you guys you want to give away a signed book?
Yeah,
right?
for sure. We are ready. We want to support your show. We are so
Thank
grateful that we
you.
got to have this conversation. Thank you
Yes.
to everyone that joined in. I will go back and help answer those questions that we missed today.
Yes, please.
And
There's
will
so
Linaire.
many more questions in there. Okay.
Two?
So last question. Who has the better rugby team?
Oh, well, that's without doubt the All Blacks in New Zealand. Good heavens. I don't even know why you're
Ouch.
asking that question, Fanny. Really?
Well,
I mean, it's
All I
obvious.
know is they're like, I don't know what their little like.
Okay,
hands-
well, if you're going to take that, then you have to take Russell Crowe back as well.
Oh, well, oh no, you've got him. You can't, we don't want him. I'm sorry. No. You may have Russell Crowe. He's actually a Kiwi, Fanny, but he moved to Australia when he was quite young. And that's what tends to happen is that, the Australians steal some of our really great things. And Russell Crowe's one
Pavlova
of
is
them.
ours. So Pavlova is ours. So the thing is, Fanny, what people don't realize, it's closer for me to get to Linaire in New Zealand than to get to the other side of Australia.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's realistically it broke off, I think is what happened, and floated away.
floated away. You're like,
And Linaire's,
but without any of the dangerous animals.
Yeah,
and
that's
Linaire's
right. Yeah,
thinking
a lot of sense in that.
Linaire's just thinking it's not far enough away yet. So.
But Lanier, Michelle, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for getting up so early in the morning. Everyone, go get their book, connect to them, and there you go, right there. All
Thank
three
you
of
so
us.
much for having us, Fanny. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk with Michelle on a podcast, and it's even more fantastic that we are your first international guest. So thank you.
Yes, inaugural.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And as always, make sure you shine your light, share your message and gifts through video. Bye now.